when she's ready.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect.
we're recording.
Okay.
All right. So, what did you guys think of the articles?
The first one the one I was reading, I think the historical fiction one, I had trouble finding the Pope one.
That one was linked in the weekly module.
Oh, it was linked in there. Oh, okay, because I found the other one. But the first one, I think she had a good point. We're saying, historical fiction, it's always from someone else's point of view. It might be true, but from a different standard and how things get revised over the years and how different, I thought that was a good point to make.
In the article, Was the Pope Old? She mentions how things are always altered just a little bit and how people make a big fuss over them, like a bus stopped in a city that didn't have public transportation, or this apron that somebody would have worn in 1897 didn't have a pocket, and how people make such a big deal out of it, but does it actually make a difference to the story?
Yeah. It seems like it's just nitpicking.
Well, and it kind of is. It's like, am I really going to go research, like, did the city of Philadelphia have public transportation in 1924? Like, I'm not going to research that. If it makes sense to the story, who cares?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean,
I get having the big facts correct, but some of them were just ridiculous. And he talked about how much research he put into Thanksgiving to make sure one thing was right, or even it's just
it's like, oh my goodness,
it's a waste of time. Yeah, if that was my job, it would drive me crazy. I'd be
like, I would go nuts. That would be insane. But they both said they really enjoyed it, so
yeah,
it's like, okay, as long as you're into it, that's cool.
Yeah. It just seems like a bit much.
I just thought it was interesting because it's like, what was I reading? Oh my goodness. Oh, it was the Pope old. Like, the very last thing she talks about, she wrote about the Pope, this quote, like, oh, that's a daring costume for an old man. Like, was the Pope old? Who cares if the Pope was old? Right. Like, if they were saying, like, the Twin Towers fell in, July 17th of 2020, like, that might be a little bit different. But, was the Pope old? Who cares?
Yeah. Especially when you look at that sentence, because, that's just using the word old as a description. You know what I mean? Like, it's nothing big. It's not, I would have looked over it, just read right through it.
Exactly. And I probably still will, even after having read these articles. Angela, what did you think?
One of the links I couldn't open up.
Which one?
Where it says read the articles. It was the first link. I couldn't open it.
Which one was that?
Can't remember the name, but it was one of the very first links to one of the articles. I couldn't open it up.
Which one did you read?
I read the one where it had the author talking about sugar. The book Sugar.
The book.
And she was talking about historical fiction and how she got into writing historical fiction.
So you didn't get a chance to read The Pope Was Old? Was the Pope old?
No, I didn't get a chance to read it because that one wouldn't open up either.
Oh, okay. Well, what did you think about the one? Bye, sweetie, I love you. Come give me hugs. Sorry, ladies. Quick.
The one I read about sugar, I really liked it because she said that historical fiction gives you like an inside view. It kind of puts you in their place, so you can actually picture yourself in the story.
Yeah.
And that's what I think about historical fiction. Like when I'm reading it, like when I was a kid, I used to read stories about Amelia Earhart, and I know it's a true story, but I used to place myself there. I used to think, I wonder what really happened to her. So it was kind of intriguing. Yeah. And that's what I like about reading historical fiction is you can actually put yourself there in that place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she was talking about in my favorite article, and I'm going to quote it over and over again, was The Pope Old? I really enjoyed it, and she had said something about how not all novelists are scholars. How
Oh yeah.
she didn't even like she didn't go to college, she didn't write an essay, but here she is writing books. You know,
It's
and
she self-taught herself.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like as long as you're not making these huge mistakes, you know, people are going to look over these because they enjoy reading them. You know, like there are certain things I think that we will personally do research on. Like I really enjoy reading stories about Anne Frank, and I personally will go and be like, "Oh, I wonder if that's true."
Yeah.
But it's about the bigger details. It's not going to be about the small details. You know, was the bookshelf black or white that covered the door? You know, it's not going to be that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and like Cambria said earlier, it's just like nitpicking at like the small detail that really doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's so interesting that people, and they mentioned specifically librarians, how they get all weird about like what specifically is true. And it's like you're missing the point of a book. You know, unless you're getting this a whole entire like huge event wrong, we're going to look over it because we don't want to read. We're not reading the book for fact. If we were, we could go to the internet ourselves. So,
and like you said earlier, it's perspective too. Like the way that history, like when they have it in certain books, it's perspective of one person or perspective of another person. So it is constantly kind of like changing in a way. So yeah, it really does. It's really the main facts that are important as long as they kind of go together. And chronologically, it seems right. You know,
as long as it makes sense.
Yeah, and that's what matters.
Yeah. So, well, all right. Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
No?
I think that's it.
All right, then.